So ideally, any CSS change that you want made to all of your pages, you either would put in the layout or you would put it in your site CSS. So if we open up our CSS folder in www root, we can open up the site CSS and we can apply changes. And one change that we're going to make to body is we're going to add a background graphic. Now, this is something that you will have to download. And what I did is I took some black and white royalty-free images and I basically made them a little bit more transparent so they were lighter. Because what you don't want is something really dark where you can't see your text very well. So all of these images should work okay. I like the CrossFit one, but I will download a couple of them. And we do want it in the images folder. Okay, so you're going to have to navigate to your workout app. You'll have to open up root and images, and then you can save it there. And I'm actually going to save a couple of these. And it doesn't hurt to save all of them. And then we are going to modify our body tag and add this code. So we want a background image. This is pretty straight CSS here. URL, single quotes. And here we don't start it with the tilde. We do a dot dot slash. I know it's kind of weird, but it's one of those little quirks you have to remember. And then from that point, if you see images, you can go ahead and open it. And then sometimes it'll show you the list of images, but it's not doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and start keying. And now I see it. I do like the CrossFit, but just for yucks, I'll see what the bike looks like. Okay. And then I'll put the semicolon in. So that gets the picture in, but we also need to size it. So we're going to do background size. We're going to use cover. That is one of our responsive sizing. You can use cover or contain. Cover will ensure that the background is always filled in, whereas contain will expand as far as it can without losing any portion of the image. So it keeps it in proportion. So you very well could see some background color depending on the dimensions of the picture. And then we don't really want this one to repeat. Now, sometimes depending on the image, repeating looks good, but we don't want it on this one. All right, let's do a save. And I'm going to do a hot reload. There it is. We are going to be changing the link color, although I don't know if I like that. Move that off to the side. Let me see, what else did I have? Let's see if I like transparent runner better. We'll do a little hot reload here. Don't know that I'm going to like that. Let me try CrossFit, which I know I like. Yeah, that one. Honestly, I like this best, but let me see what dumbbells looks like. Now, you guys can find a image that you like. So here's what dumbbells looks like. If you want to go out and find a graphic and put it in your folder, you guys can actually put anything in the background that you want. I just wanted to give you some options. So I'm going to go back to CrossFit because I do like that one. And we're going to continue on with our CSS changes. So obviously, I don't like the blue links, which are the default color for links. We're going to be changing that. And we'll also be changing the heading 1 color. And we're going to be making some modification to tables and form groups as well for sizing. So for the links, we're going to format the active, the link, the active state, the visited state, and the hover the same. So we've got a link, comma, a active, comma, a visited, comma, a hover, and I'm going to make those maroon. And we're going to put in a little padding, which is space around the link. And probably don't need a border radius. I think at one point I had the links filled in with color, so we don't really need that. I think we're going to do text decoration, none, because we don't want them underlined. I'm going to increase the size just a little bit, 1.1 EM, so about 10% increase. And we are going to make the font a little heavier. So font weight can be bold and bolder, but you can also do numbers between 100 and 900. So we're going to go with 7050, which is not the darkest, but it will make it stand out a little bit. Okay, so we can save that, and let's do a little reload on it. And let's see if I can find it. Okay, and here's what that looks like. And don't worry, we're going to customize this page, but you can kind of see what that change looked like. And now that does stand out a little bit more. These are our links. You can see those a little bit better than we could before. For our heading 1, we are going to add some, it's newer CSS. And in these apps, we have to prefix it with WebKit. So it's going to be WebKit.text-stroke color. We want the stroke color to be white and the fill color on the text, this is our heading, to be maroon. And it gives it kind of a neat effect. And then we're going to add a shadow to that too. And we're going to make the font a little heavier. Okay, we'll take a look at that in a minute. We're going to add a couple more changes. In the tables, let me see if I can pull that up to show you what they look like now. So in the tables, this is our heading row. And what we're going to do is increase the size of the text a little bit. And then we're going to do the same thing for form groups. We're just going to increase the size just a little bit, okay, the size of the text. Okay, and again, we're doing that to help make things stand out just a little bit. Okay, so then down here, for the table heading, I'm going to do font size 1.2 EM. And then down here, we're going to override a form group. And we're going to do font size 1.2 EM. Okay, and you're thinking, well, how can you override Bootstrap? Let me save this. This is going to work because of the way the style sheets are pulled in. So we're pulling in Bootstrap before we are pulling in the site CSS. So we can override some of the Bootstrap settings. Okay. But sometimes it's hard to figure out what those settings are. So um, when all else fails, the inline style typically will work if you really don't like how something looks. Okay, so I'm going to save all of this. And I'm going to stop the app from running so I can run a build. All right, now let us run this. And we are going to look at our changes. We're not done making changes yet because we actually have to go in and make changes to the pages themselves. But you can see that our menu does look a lot better with that larger font. The larger font also looks a lot better in our table and making those links a little bigger and heavier looks better as well. You can see that all of our H1 headings are standing out more. And so our next step, and this will be in the next video, is going to be to go into the views and add some styling to the views themselves. And things that we will be doing is changing the text because a lot of this text I am not too fond of. We can make this much more user-friendly. We're also going to be putting a partially transparent white background kind of behind the contents in the page, and that will help for readability. Okay, so we'll be doing that to quite a few pages. And then for the pages that have tables, we're going to add another little style to the tables that will change the color when we are pointing at the row. Okay, so just a couple little bells and whistles, and that'll be in the next section.